This conference will now be recorded.
7:00. I declare this meeting open to the City Council of the City of Escalon, regular meeting of October 19th, 2020. Would you please all stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Bellinger.
Here.
Councilmember Merkin.
Here.
Councilmember Legero.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Alves.
Here.
And Mayor Swift.
Here, and at this point, we'll proceed directly to the consent calendar. These items are considered routine in nature and are acted upon by a single action unless requested by an individual council member or member of the public for special consideration.
Move to approve. Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the consent calendar. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Consent calendar passes 5-0. Staff communications.
Mayor and council, before you tonight are the September monthly reports for the departments, including the treasurer's report, police department, animal control, development services, building department, public works, water department, and the wastewater treatment plant report. Staff is available to answer any questions that you might have on these items.
Questions? General questions? Okay. Any specific issues, Tammy?
I do not have anything else under staff communications.
Dominic?
No, thank you.
No? Okay. I think we're done with that part. Let's go right on to matters presented from the audience. At this time, the public may address the city council on any item not on the agenda that is within the authority of the council. Speaker is limited to a maximum of 5 minutes. Unused time may not be yielded to another speaker. And I know that, let's see, do we have some callers online? Because we can take callers in a number of different ways now, of course, in this room and online as well. So who would like to speak first, online or on phone? Okay. Anybody in the room with us? No? Okay, this is right meeting night, right?
Yes, it is.
All right. Well then, we'll go on to the public hearing. Tammy or Dominique?
Dominique.
Thank you. This item before you is to provide direction on the issue identified in the staff report regarding business licenses, review a draft resolution that's included as an informational item regarding adopting the current business license fees, which were originally adopted by ordinance in 1998. And then we're introducing and waiving the first reading of ordinance number XXX, which is amending the Escalon Municipal Code Chapter 5 business taxes, licenses, and regulations consistent with council's agreed upon direction. The majority of the general business license regulations have not been updated since 1988. Due to changes in state laws, the advancement of technology, and the practical way staff has implemented the business license ordinance, the code was due for an update. A description of the major changes to this chapter can be found below, and a red line track changes copy of the code is attached as Exhibit A to the ordinance. Chapter 5.04 General Business License Regulations. The definitions section was modified to add new language, and some definitions were either combined or separated to better clarify our regulations. The original due dates and penalty dates for renewals was confusing for business owners, so this section was revised to align due dates with the first of the month. The original code did not provide much detail for denial and appeals of business licenses, so this section was expanded. Section 5.04150 and 5.04160 speak of licenses that need to be approved by council and the chief of police. This section should be reviewed closely to determine if any further changes are necessary based on the council's direction. The language in option 1 preserves the city council's duty to issue business licenses to circuses, card rooms, carnivals, and ambulance service. Option 2 changes this and authorizes the police chief to issue such licenses. And option 3 is supposed to change it and authorize the finance director to issue such licenses in the same manner as other licenses. And there is a typo in option 3, also giving it to the police department. We'll have the option of whether the council wants to keep the powers for those items, hand them over to the police chief, or hand them over to the finance director. We can go through that shortly. The original code was unclear on business license exemptions, so this section was expanded and clarified. The business license fees were included in the original municipal code. It's staff's preference to adopt fees by resolution instead of ordinance. The business license fees were removed from the ordinance and attached as a resolution to facilitate future changes to the fees. At this time, the fee amounts are not being modified, but are simply being removed from the ordinance and placed in a resolution. As you're aware, ordinances take a lot of time to update, 30 days after a first and second reading. And so we're recommending moving it into a resolution. That way we can schedule a public hearing and it becomes effective right after it's adopted. So it just makes it a quicker action than before. Regarding Chapter 5.30, home occupations, the rules for home occupations were originally located in Title 17 zoning. Since home occupation permits are always linked with a business license, it made more sense for both of them to be in the same chapter. This simplifies the research process for business owners looking for information on starting a business in Escalon. The home occupation section was expanded to match the home occupation application given to the business applicants. Chapter 5.36, mobile vendors and sidewalk vendors. The original code covered mobile food vendors, but since there has been an evolution of various types of mobile vendors, the code was modified to include mobile food vendors as well as other types of mobile retailers. The state passed AB 946 in 2018, which greatly limits a city's ability to regulate street vending. The code was updated to comply with the state law. Regarding Chapter 5.40, taxi cabs and vehicles for hire, the code has been updated to include transportation network companies such as Lyft and Uber. Chapter 5.46, street fairs and farmers markets. In order to give flexible licensing options for special events and farmers market vendors, a new section of the code has been added. Therefore, staff requests direction from the City Council on whether Council wants to continue issuing business licenses for circuses, cartoons, carnivals, and ambulance service, or whether they would like either the police chief or finance director to have the authority to issue those licenses. Staff also requests the City Council select option 1, 2, or 3, which specifies alternative language for sections 5.04150, 5.04160, and amend the municipal code chapter 5 business taxes, license, and regulations as set forth in Exhibit A with that selected optional language. And then, of course, once that is figured out, conduct a public hearing and introduce and waive that first reading of the ordinance. And if you have any questions, it's a lot of information. There's a large amount of redlining, and then we did provide a clean version. Most of the redlining is removal of all of the fees that were in the business license and moving them into that resolution, which we provided an informational or a draft version of, and that will come at the next meeting during the second reading and adoption.
So what we're going to do, we're going to have a public hearing, okay, momentarily, and
I think we need to decide the options first.
And then you want to decide those options. So
Yeah.
we did have
Before
a
the
couple.
public hearing or after?
Oh, maybe, well, no, let's have input from the public hearing first. I just want to make sure that when we're ready to craft the motion, we know that essentially it's going to need 2 or 3 parts: an approval, a direction from the council regarding business license issuances for services, card rooms, carnivals, ambulance services, and who should issue these, and then also which option we want to go with. So it's going to be a bit of a 3-part motion, from what I understand. Let's open up the public hearing. And by the way, also, if you're online or if you're on the phone, please give us your input. Any questions? Okay, well, like I said, I guess we'll take this back to council for now. I mean, if there are any questions, I will be more than happy to let whoever has those questions or thoughts chime in to speak their mind. But for the moment, let's go ahead and close the public hearing. Bring it back to council for possible action at this point. And again, keep in mind, we have two things to decide before we approve this motion. And what's the first part? Let's take the first part regarding the direction from the city council, whether you want us to continue issuing business licenses for the circus, card rooms, carnivals, ambulance services, or whether you'd like the police chief or the finance director.
Well, I don't understand. What's going on currently? What do we currently do?
So currently on page 80 of our staff, of our package, has what the current code is updated to what needs to be updated to keep it current. Licenses authorized by the city council includes any circuses, public card rooms, carnivals, tent theaters, animal shows, temporary entertainment under tent or temporary structure, and ambulance services. So those currently, if somebody was to come to the city to apply for a license or business license for those, they would come to the council for approval.
And why would that change?
It doesn't have to change. Our legal counsel provided options because there are other cities that do it differently. Some run those through their police department, some run them through the finance director.
Yeah.
So it's just providing those options. You can leave it as is if that's how you prefer, or you can amend it accordingly. It just depends on your preference.
Have there been any problems with this system over the last 30 some odd years?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
They broke and want to fix it.
Okay.
But I do have some questions. That was one of the questions. I personally don't really want to change it. The fees, are the fees going to change at all?
Not this round. We have some fee updates that we will be bringing forward in the next few weeks, probably not the next meeting, the meeting afterwards. Currently, what's in the municipal code fee-wise was adopted originally in 1998 by ordinance, and we are taking the fees out of the ordinance and putting them into that resolution. So the fees are not changing this cycle. We
What is
will,
this cycle? What is
like this, in this process, but we are putting together some fees for
what's
other
the
items.
process timeline?
So tonight's the first reading, the next meeting would be the second reading and adoption, and then that ordinance goes into effect after 30 days. So our next meeting is in November, so we would probably be bringing any future fee proposals either in the second meeting in November or the first meeting in December.
Okay.
We have some fees that we're looking to create for farmers markets, things that have come up the last few years that we wouldn't really have fees set up for, so.
Currently, how is it we decide what a fee is per business? Is it based on their volume of money doing business, correct?
Gross receipts.
Gross receipts, okay.
Yeah.
So that's probably not going to change, right?
No, that is not changing. No.
So how would the fee go up then?
So this fee isn't going up at all. We were going to establish a new type of license,
A new
business
category?
license, a new category for farmers markets.
I see.
Special
So, but
event.
A special event farmers market,
But the existing ones per state are stable.
correct.
Yeah, because during the pandemic, where everybody's been hit so hard in so many different directions, I don't think it's appropriate to even think about it.
And
I will
we
say
haven't,
this.
yeah,
I will say this, I don't think our fees are out of line. I think they're cheap, okay? I have no problem with that. But this is not the time, I think, to raise any fees on anybody.
sure.
That's just my personal opinion. What was the other thing? The food truck, I read there somewhere that the county or the state has removed our authority to deal with mobile eateries. Is that accurate?
They've limited our ability, like before you did have the option, if you didn't want to allow them into town, you could say no. Now they are fit certain criteria, which was updated our municipal code to reflect to where they can come in and operate with a permit.
Okay, but that permit has certain circumstances that have to be met in order to be in compliance.
Correct. And those are what the state law requires,
The state law determines that, not us.
not us, yes.
Okay.
There are some areas, I don't know them offhand, but for the most part, we've updated it to meet state law.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest issues was the competition for brick and mortar stores dealing with the portable eateries because they didn't have the tax base to deal with and all the other insurances and so forth and so on. So it made them a lot more competitive. And it wasn't helping with brick and mortar, which is the ones that basically pay our property taxes. So my question was, when we decided to have them come to town or allow them in town, what type of restrictions that would put on them?
Originally, let me,
It's on page 106 is where it starts.
so we updated
So we just added the sidewalk vendors.
the new title for them, yeah, they
My
updated.
understanding, they were required to have a restroom of sorts, table to sit down on, and I'm not sure what else, but those are two of the ones that stick out in my mind the most.
Yeah,
Which
so
is-
for the most part, this section doesn't have too many edits except for on page 114 of 192, where these items come in regarding specific to sidewalk vendors, is the update with AB, it's listed in the staff report, state law. So in addition to regulations applicable,
But I think he's asking what our requirements are now
Oh,
for when they
currently?
come in. Yeah, so
so
not
off the top of my
necessarily.
head, they have to have access to a restroom. They have to be within so many feet of a restroom. They have to go in an area that has an active business. So they can't just set up wherever. They have to go where there's already a primary business, so they would be the incidental.
They
or
can't
the
stand
secondary.
alone, what you're saying?
Yeah, they cannot stand alone, yeah.
So they have to have some facilities that are pre-existing, for example, restrooms.
Correct.
And in addition to that, probably,
Or they
what
could-
about portable water for washing your hands and stuff?
We do allow them to bring restrooms in if there's a lack of restrooms. They can do portable restrooms.
And then what about seating?
We don't allow for seating,
No seating.
no seating.
What about their license? They have to put that out there where everybody can see their license?
I believe that's a county regulation that they have to hang it up in there. I
For
mean,
the
we give
health
them-
permit, but
health
even for
permit.
our business license, all businesses are supposed to put them
They
out.
put it somewhere,
I read that
yeah.
As well, but they're also, the health inspections have to be made, displayed as well, I believe.
Correct, yes.
Yeah.
And they're done on a regular basis, I assume?
Ours are
The
annually.
health department's inspections, I believe, I don't know if they're annually or biannually.
Because they're in our city, we don't have a health department. The county does.
Correct.
Correct.
Yes.
We require them to provide us clearance from the health department before we'll give them a permit or a license.
So even on renewal, they have to give us an updated health permit.
So when we charge them to be in town, they obviously have a business license, and that's based on their gross receipts.
Correct, for the receipts in town.
So what if they're new? How do you determine their fee then?
It's an estimate.
It's just an estimate?
Mhm. All
Estimate on the-
businesses have, yeah, it's an estimate.
And they have an application fee too, of like a flat application fee.
And there is, as part of the permit, the chief of police can also require background, or are they all required for
I
background?
think that's a good idea, though. We've had issues in the past where we've had people a little bit shady.
Yeah, they're required, a background check in accordance with the
That makes perfect
requirements,
sense.
yeah. Must be obtained for mobile food vendors.
That's a good idea.
I just have a question on one of our existing ones, then if they have to have a business close by and access the restroom, the one that operates out at the old Big Boy, the Big Boy's closed. It's kind of around.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yes,
ask the same
they-
question.
Originally, we were trying to exercise flexibility with them because we were under the impression that new business would move in there a lot quicker than they have. So we have talked to them in the past about relocating somewhere else, and then every time it looks like they're about to relocate, something looks like it's gonna move forward in Big Boy. And so we take a step back and wait, and then it hasn't moved forward. So
What about portable bodies in the meantime?
they do have access. The
So
business
this-
owners gave them the key, they have
That's good
restrooms.
enough. That's
Yeah,
good
it's just not, it doesn't meet code in the aspect that the business is
Not
active.
operating.
Yeah,
Oh, well.
but it has changed ownership and they have turned on their utilities and stuff, so they are moving forward.
Yeah, I get that question daily.
Yeah,
Outside of the bathroom restriction there, we've got some notes in here about 300 foot from you can't be within 300 foot of a school, park, playground, city-owned rec center, and all those. Do the current ones we have here in town meet those restrictions? 100 foot from a street intersection, 300, 100
Yeah.
foot from any street intersection.
They should, we would make them meet it, so they should be meeting it,
So these-
unless
these
they
are-
relocated from their
Those,
original site.
Those are
measurements are existing.
correct.
Correct, yeah.
Yes.
Well, how many do we have in town? We have two that I'm aware of.
I know of one. Where's the other one?
We had to.
Oh, there was-
Emails is relatively new, yeah.
At Emos,
Are they there on a regular basis?
they're only there a set number of days a week. I want to say it was like Wednesday through Saturday or something. I'm not positive on the days, but they're not there 7 days a week. And then we did have the one that was at Valley Inn for a while, but of course they haven't
What about
been
the
there right.
operational hours for these units, these portable units? What do we got for hours on that?
I believe they're listed.
7 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Yeah, depends on what zone they're in. For residential zone, permitted hours are 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. If it's a commercial zone, 6 a.m. to 12 a.m. And then industrial zone has operating 23 hours a day or as long as a business within 300 feet of the mobile food vendor location is open, whichever is shorter. So that's to accommodate, obviously, industrial that is sometimes open 24 hours and has different shifts.
So they're allowed to be in that environment,
Correct.
24 hours, but that's
20.
operational.
23.
Correct, yeah.
They have to take an hour break. It's only 23 hours a day that we have in there.
It's a bathroom break.
Supply.
Okay.
Yeah, so it looks like that with that section, everything that's currently in there still meets state law. And so that section on page 114, which is all in blue, which there was a typo in there. It has the wrong county listed. So we'll update that to San Joaquin in number 4 regarding sidewalk vendors. That's all in accordance with state law update.
Does it address the issue we had with that corner restaurant at one time when they were cooking outside on the sidewalk?
That is a separate issue. That was outdoor cooking, and we have a separate municipal code section on that. And so when that occurred, that was drafted and brought to council for approval. So that is in the books in a separate section.
And then temporarily, we've allowed or considered to allow the bar to have access to the front of the store there or front of the sidewalk area for.
Yeah, we haven't had the new owner
You haven't
approach
had
us.
him yet?
No.
No,
No.
not anything yet.
Okay. So 3 options we have now, you're asking for, we have to pick one of the 3.
Correct, in regards to those carnival circuses, but if you are fine with leaving it as is, that's
I have
fine.
no problem with it.
Yeah. If those are the type of items that you want to come to you.
How many circuses and carnivals do we have?
Yeah, it's not like it happens all the time. So
We live in a circle.
I think it'd be pretty special that maybe you want to put your stamp of approval on it now.
So the language in option 1 is that's the recommended correction that we leave it.
With the council.
as is.
That is the one with the least amount of amendments to it, correct?
And the amendments that it does have compared to what we currently have, it's more cleanup language.
It's just cleanup, correct?
That would be my recommendation is option 1.
Okay, it's page 80.
Yeah.
Do we need a motion for this?
If you pick that
Yeah.
section and just include it in your introduction and first reading approval, that would be fine.
Okay, so in other words, you just
Leave it as is.
leave it as is. Do we need a motion? We still need a motion. right?
Motion on everything, if you don't have any other questions on the ordinance, and then we can.
Okay.
Well, if we don't have any other questions, I'd move on staff recommendation.
With exercising option 1.
Option 1, correct. Which is basically leave alone.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to go upon staff's recommendation with choosing option 1 regarding the council continuing issuing business licenses for card room services and ambulance services. Is there any discussion of the motion on the table? And again, I'll ask if anybody, if there's any other input from the audience or from online or by phone. Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion passes 5-0. Council, right there, Council Communications. Councilmember Bellinger.
Actually, don't have anything tonight.
Nada. Okay. Councilmember Legero.
No.
Councilmember Merkin.
Maybe get in.
Mayor Pro Tem Alves.
Unfortunately, I got a couple. I got called a couple days ago on a couple of things. One call I got on was from a resident here in Ennisbell on First Street, Barbara Tilbury. Tilbury would like to meet with the chief and myself to discuss traffic. And I said, well, I'd have to run by the chief, see what he thought about it. So he's not here this evening, so.
He's on the phone.
Oh, yes.
Mhm.
Chief, can you hear us?
Yeah, Ed, go ahead.
A request by a local resident here, I think you're familiar with the lady, Barbara Tilbury.
Yeah.
Well, if you and I could meet with her at some time. I'm not sure why I have to be there, but she would like, have you met with her before?
I've met with her several times.
Okay,
and
well, that answers my question.
And talk to her today.
Okay. In other
I
words,
talked to her today, and Sergeant Hargraves talked to her also. It was kind of strained, but we explained our position on traffic control. I understand her complaint in the area, and I think her point blank request to me was she wanted an officer there 24/7.
okay, well, that's not gonna happen. Okay. Well, listen, now that you're familiar with it, I don't think I need to go any further with this. I think you've done what you had to do.
Okay.
The next thing I have is another person called. They wanted to know, why can't we stay open for noon? Because people work and the time they take for lunch to come and pay their water bills and do other city business, but there's no way to seat anyone at City Hall.
So typically it's been based on staff. Just if I have 3 girls at the front right now. So if one of them is out on vacation, I mean, there would be the chance that they could come in at noon and not be able to speak to the person that they need because they would be out at lunch.
Well,
Dropping off a payment is already doable in the box.
I'm not sure what it is, but she's not the first or the last person who's gonna ask me about this. What would be the deal if we were to stagger one of those persons' lunch hour?
Well, again, I mean, it's something that we can look at doing, but you still have the risk that the person that they need to talk to may not be here during the noon time.
That's very possible. But I think the fact that they had somebody to talk to would help. I think we need to look at that. I get that a lot, so I don't know what the answer is. At noon, I guess a lot of people have time for their lunch where they run and do errands. And they feel strongly about having this City Hall available to them. So I want the staff to take some time and think about it and see if we can come up with a solution to at least give them some sort of reasonable solution. The fact that we don't open at all, I don't think is a reasonable solution. I think that we need to do something. So give it some thought, think about it.
Yeah, I mean, our offices haven't even been open recently, and they've been dropping payments in the box or making payments online, and I haven't been made aware of there being an issue with that, so.
Well, I'll tell you what I can do, though, when they call me, just give them your phone number, they can call you.
Yeah, I mean, they can always call City Hall and get a hold of me, so.
So is
yeah.
it open, is the phone line open during lunchtime?
No.
See, there's another problem. Yeah, it's my opinion, you should have something.
I mean, there is, the automated system is there, they can leave a message. I mean, and somebody will get back to them after lunch.
You're trying to solve a problem, get the message, that's not solving the problem, they want it resolved. I don't know, let me call these people back and see what exactly they think they want. And then I'll get back to you on it, but they do, this is not the first time, I've had this 4 or 5 times people have asked me about this. It just seems somewhere along the line, we should have an available form, either at the police station or here, but somewhere. They should have a person that can come and actually talk to. Either that or a live phone line, one of the two. So keep it in mind, please, and I'll get back to you on that. trying to figure out what the heck it is they're trying to get, but I do understand that. It's frustrating when you want to get something done and there's no phone and there's no one to talk to, regardless of whether it's the person you think you need. The fact that you have a representative from the community or the city here to talk to, it makes a difference. So let's give that.
I just don't want to give a false hope that, if they come in at noontime, that their questions would be answered, because they still may have to wait for somebody else. Making
How about
payments.
online? What if we had an online deal where they could go online and ask?
Well, I mean, that's already available, because you can reach out to staff online. You can submit questions online. Payments can be made online. Payments can be in the Dropbox, email.
Well, let me see what they say. But there was, like I said, I've had a couple of people call me on that, and I don't know really what they're trying to get. They just said they want to be able to come down and get their break at lunch. And I said, okay, fine, I'll ask.
If it's that important, they'll take an early lunch and come down when we're open.
And there's that too.
Sorry, if it's that important to your business or your world, we'll figure it out.
It's just limited staff, so if I happen to allow, because right now we have one staff member that's out on medical leave. So if I happen to have had 2 people on vacation, then I don't really have somebody to cover lunch. Or if somebody calls in sick, when I only have 2 people on and somebody calls in sick, then there's another.
I think a hotline or some kind of line where people could call somebody at least. Something. I mean, just in the case of emergency, I understand your point, you're right. If it's that critical, but sometimes things happen, you can't get off. Or sometimes you don't have the time to get off. So maybe a hotline where you can have a line where somebody's, during their lunch is available. They're eating lunch, but hey, part of your deal that day is you're gonna answer the phone or rings. Something, it's just
People
gotta.
can't answer the phone while they're on lunch break. Yes, labor laws just do that.
Well, then they're gonna stagger. We'll figure it out, but there's gonna be something, they have to have some access. All right, and what else was there? Let's see, I got that one. There was another one too, one that's cool. I want to tell the chief that your car out there is doing a good job.
Thank
you. People are hitting their brakes.
Yeah, thank you. We keep moving it around.
If there was a way we could rig a radar on that car, when people came too fast and the lights came on that car, that'd be excellent.
Well, I heard you when you said that before. I was looking at the cost. That's kind of expensive, but the ultimate plan is it stays out there for a day or so. It disappears, and the next time, if you're unfortunate enough to be too used to the car being there, the lights will come on, but there'll be a live officer in it.
I love it. Okay, good. Good enough. All right. Thank you, Chief.
No problem.
All right, I'm done. Thank you.
All right, Mayor Brooks, thank you very much. Hey, all I have tonight is a brief update on this Christmas on Main situation. Obviously, everybody knows what happened in the Shannon Council live. It's one of these events in town that makes up the fabric of this community, and it's very important to the community, but obviously it's a different year this year, so there's a lot of hurdles that not only the chamber, but every service organization, every church group has to deal with in this town this year. They've been running about to deal with. So they felt like the best way to deal with it at the time was to stand down. Of course, we'd love to see what we can do in terms of, having some kind of a Christmas event down there. Anyway, of course, there's going to be the tree, and it's going to be lit, and it's going to be the community hospice tree as well this year. But the Christmas on Main committee, which, by the way, trying to be tactful about this, but we were not privy to the decision to cancel the event the other night, about a week ago. We're gonna have a meeting Wednesday night to see what we can do. And in terms of options, I've heard actually a lot of great ideas already. And I fully expect probably to pull some people from the community that have got some great ideas as well into this process and see if something can happen this year still. Again, within the bounds of safety and making sure that we don't do anything that's going to be getting the attention of the state. As long as we want to be the first one to stick our heads up, because you know what happens when you're the first one to stick your heads up. It doesn't last. At least not the way that the state wants to operate nowadays. So that's the update on that. And that's all I have for now. We're going to be going into closed session momentarily. And so you're welcome to stay if you want, both in the audience and online. Nobody ever does. I know you can, so. Okay, closed session.
Tammy, did we get this one?
I did,
Got questions for you.
sure.
Have a good one.